Oh, okay. So. Yeah.
Okay. Jim's not making it, gonna be unattended.
Oh, okay.
It's inaccurate.
Oh,
The more you do it, the AI gets better and better.
interesting.
So, like,
I'll
if
stop
you,
yelling at my.
oh yeah, dude, if you're yelling at, I can put the earbud in my ear and just basically mumble it, and it.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Atkins. Let me make sure I'm off here. All right. Welcome everyone to the Atkins City Council meeting for Tuesday, May 27, 2025. This time we would ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to the roll call tonight. Jim Kane will not be in attendance this evening. We begin with Trevor Dursky.
Present.
Samantha Peterson.
Present.
Jay Bell.
Present.
David Fisher.
Present.
And online, I would like to add that we have Mike Holmberg, guest this evening with Iowa Audio Video later in the agenda. Okay, moving on to item number 2. This is the approval of the agenda.
I would like to table items 9 and 10 until we can have the street superintendent available for those, if we could please, and I would approve the agenda with those tabled. So I make the motion to approve that, the agenda with tabling items 9 and 10.
I can second that.
My only question on that is if we are under any like time
Nope.
constraints with either of those
Nope.
pieces of
Nope.
equipment.
We'll be all right on the 10th.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on the floor. And with that, the roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Jay Bell.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, we have the citizens' opportunity to address the council of any items not on the agenda. In conformance with the rules of procedure in the Iowa Open Meetings Law, no action or deliberation can occur on those items. Ask anyone desiring to speak. walk to the lectern, state your name and address, and encourage to limit your comments to more than 3 minutes. Okay. Seeing none, we move on to item number 4. Consideration of the City of Atkins travel, training, and expense policy. Scott,
Yes.
background?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is an item that's been contained among the different findings that we've had in our annual audit report. They've identified a lack of an internal control system related to not having a policy addressing payments for allowable expenses for travel and training. So since Atkins hit the population requirement, 2,000 is where the annual audit done. So we hit that in 2000, of course. So for fiscal year 21, 22, 23, and now 24, we've had a finding contained in all of those audits related to the lack of an internal control over this particular item. So meeting with the auditors, we have like an exit interview with them, and we were going over some of the findings for this year, and that was brought up. Again, their recommendation is that we establish this policy for travel, training, mileage, hotels, meal limits, those kinds of things. So I've drafted a policy for the council's consideration that really provides, I think, the employee reasonable travel accommodations and expenses, but maintains a prudent spending policy by the city. So cover topics like the overnight travel, the reimbursement process, registration fees, transportation, lodging, meals, and other miscellaneous expenses. And then again, mileage expense and allowance there for local meetings. Again, just strictly identifying certain things that are prohibited and not reimbursable, things like alcohol, expenses for employees, spouses, or other family members or acquaintances, entertainment, alcoholic beverages, charitable contributions. So those are pretty standard. So I don't think I've really recreated the wheel with this policy. It's some policies that I've used in other communities. So very much so similar to those policies. It's just that, again, we did not have a formal written policy. Was the recommendation that be corrected. And so every year we give a response that indicates to the auditors that we're going to do this. And so when we went through the audit again this time, it's my first audit here, and says, well, we'll get this one off the list. And so that's what you have. So our response to this finding for the audit for fiscal year 24 will be, if we can beat them for drafting that final report, will be that we have already actually adopted policy. So again, that doesn't mean to suggest that anything that we've been doing would not be consistent with this policy. It's just simply memorializing and writing and approval by the council of, I think, many things that we've already been doing. Again, it's just lack of a formal adopted policy. So that's all I got on that.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the travel training expense policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Again, Scott, that was good work. As far as I was concerned, that was something that you would think that we would already have in place. But I appreciate you getting that one item off of the list of items that we've got to resolve there. So I appreciate that. I think that's a good move.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, agree.
Thank you.
Long time, it's been on forever, so.
Further discussion? Hearing none, the roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
EJ Bell.
Aye.
David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 5. This is the RFP for professional audit services for fiscal year FY 25 through 27, 3-year term. And Scott?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. So council, in your packet, you've got proposal that I drafted, an RFP for solicitation of professional audit services, as the mayor indicated, beginning with fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. So covering that fiscal year 25, also 26 and 27. So again, a 3-year period here. Sealed proposals would be accepted until 2 p.m. July 17th. As the RFP suggests, the council would consider an award of contract for auditing services at its meeting on July 22nd. This was one, again, when I came here, there was a kind of, I think Dave just mentioned a moment ago, sort of a list, and this was one of the things on the list was an RFP for professional audit services. So I had basically a file, and in that file, there was just a blank sample boilerplate RFP that the state auditor publishes on their website. It's, again, just there for a guide for cities to utilize when they would draft their own individual specific RFP for their purposes. But generally, you kind of follow that guideline. So I did utilize that state boilerplate RFP process, but also, again, in addition to some work that I've done elsewhere in some other communities, kind of borrow a little bit from everybody to put together our RFP for this. This typically is something that would go out in the fall. So typically around that October timeframe. So we'd want to get private CPA firms really get hooked up with this kind of work. I think I used the analogy, it's you want to bid a construction project like the fire station in the winter. You want to bid that in January, February, December timeframe. You don't want to be bidding that in July when everybody's already has their work set for the next year to 18 months. So that's kind of following this same cycle here. We're a little late issuing the RFP, but I have reached out to a few firms, and I do believe that we will have some interest, some local firms, Cedar Rapids firms, as well as a firm that I've worked with before, I believe will give us a proposal. I've talked to other communities in Benton County and in this region. They've had a very difficult time getting a private CPA firm to bid on their audit work. So we'd be, I think, pretty fortunate to be able to get a firm to do that work for us. Again, I think we've had the state auditor doing the work for about 4 years now, and generally the state auditor is sort of the auditor of last resort, if you will, on this. When you can't get a private CPA firm to do the work, you kind of fall into a default situation where the state auditor does it. And so and actually I was talking to one of my predecessors, Mr. Lang here, and we were talking about this very topic, and he mentioned when they would do the report previously, the state was so slow because they're so behind through a lack of staffing to issue these reports that we found ourselves all the time having to write the state and ask for an extension, but it was no fault of the cities at all. It was just that we were using the state auditor's office. They're backed up, they're short-staffed. There's a statutory requirement under Iowa Code Chapter 11 that dictates when these audits have to be completed. So we have to have that completed within 9 months of the end of the fiscal year. And obviously, we will not meet that this year. And I don't think we've met that in some previous years. So again, it's, I think, getting that timing sequenced out better. So when we get that response, hopefully we can consider that at that second meeting in July. Typically, then the auditors would start coming here, gathering information, probably September, October, so that we could get the audit in our hands, start to go through it, that the auditor then could make a formal presentation to the council, which I don't think has happened here with the state auditor's office. And so they would make a presentation to the council, to the community, and then you would have to accept the audit, and then we file it with the state auditor's office. And that would all be completed in that late December to early January timeframe, where again, this year we'll be looking into June probably before we have that done now. So well beyond the statutory deadline of March 31st. So I'm pretty excited about it. Again, just talking, I have sent it out to a few firms that have done some work in this area and been rejected already. So, I mean, they're already booked up. Again, that was no surprise to me that, again, I probably touched base with 4 different firms, and including the state. Again, I think the state really encourages communities to look for a private CPA firm to do the work, just because, again, they're so terrifically understaffed and backed up with the work that they have. But the issue again is you're in between a rock and a hard place. There aren't very many CPA firms that aren't already booked up that can do this kind of work. So again, I've got some pretty good responses from some firms here that have done some work locally, but have also said lightly from probably 3 or 4 different firms that they're booked up for the next year. Again, the RFP itself, just as I mentioned, just some background information on the community, a little bit about our organization, a little bit about how we operate fiscally. Again, that the audit's done, of course, in compliance with 11 of the code, Single Audit Act be a requirement, preparation of the AFR. We've asked that for a kind of a added feature, if you will, so a separate cost proposal for that as well. Qualifications of the firm, their fees, compensation, scope of services, time frame, all those kinds of things. And then when we would get the responses back, then there's a score sheet that the state has that we could use as a rubric to score the firms. If we wanted to interview them, we could do that as well. So that's about all I've got on that one.
I think it's a great idea. Something I've been wanting for a long time. So a couple things when it comes to the state, they put the crappiest people on the small towns, you know, and then the biggest problem, they become political. So when you get to the accounting firms, usually they've been there a long time, better staffing, higher quality people, you know, and you're usually paying cheaper, if not at most the same kind of money. It's not like it's, you know, any better. So I'm 100% for it. Wish it had been done long time ago. It's been talked about. So
I just add on to that. I think you're probably correct on the fees. Generally, I think with what we've been paying for, I was really shocked, I guess, when I saw what the cost was for our audit here. That was as much as what we were paying where I came from. You know, and that was a $40 million a year organization. So many times the size of this. And yeah, I think I can't promise, but I think you don't know until this is a bad way to say, bid it out, but that's the process of, you know, really being able to benchmark what we're getting there. So yeah, I'm anxious to see what we get.
motion approved. This,
Yep.
RFP.
Okay.
Second by Fisher.
The only other
It is.
thing I'd like to add to that, again, Scott, thank you for doing this one. What is the right thing to do? And the right thing to do is always to bid it out, so to speak, and find out if we're paying the right prices for things. And that's one thing that Scott and I talked about before you even started was we need to go out, we need to look at absolutely everything. Making sure that we're paying the right fees. If you don't, that puts you in a position where you can be charged more than what is expected. I don't know that that's what the state does or anything, and I'm not making that accusation. What I'm saying is this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing that we should have been doing all along. So I appreciate your efforts on that one as well.
Any further comments? Hearing none, roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Jay Bell.
Aye.
David Fisher.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson. Carries. Item number 6, the City of Atkins credit card policy.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, you got in your packet a copy of the resolution here that restates and amends the city's credit card policy. Essentially, what this does is add some additional language, adds me as an additional user to the policy. The current amount, the limit for the library director is set at $2,000, so this would raise it from $2,000 to $3,000. And she did get, Pam did get approval from her board for that increase, so that would raise her limit. So again, the limits then would be the existing credit cards are the mayor has one, limit of 10,000, street superintendent 5,000, wastewater water superintendent 5,000. Again, library director at 2,000, but this would change that to 3,000, and then it would add me at 3,000. Again, just the standard kind of repeat. Some of this language is already in the existing resolution that the council has already passed. I think you approved this one. I put in your packet. This was passed August 13th of last year, identified those amounts. Again, the Bankers Bank, so we worked through Atkins Savings Bank and their program utilizing the Bankers Bank account there. So keeping that local with Atkins. So this again just basically memorializes again some of the content that we've had already in place. Maybe enhances a little of the language, but by and large is the same kind of a policy that what we've had, mostly just adding myself to the list of authorized users and then increasing the director of library from 2,000 to 3,000.
So I mean, I read through some of this and I actually had some thoughts on this. And obviously the council can make their own thoughts and throw it in there. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, is a couple options. Option number one, since we're, my opinion has always been everything should filter through the city administrator / city clerk, and looks like you're looking to add one for $3,000 whenever they get on, is to, it seems like these are high, to bring them all down to $3,000. You can look at the track of spending and it looks like no one has ever exceeded that for the most part. If that were to happen, then, you can look at combining a purchase on a rare occasion or look at something else. And then the other thing is
Combining credit cards, you mean?
yeah, like if there's a greater purchase than 3,000, because it's all coming out of the same
Right.
credit line,
What are we talking about?
Yeah, so basically if somebody were to ever exceed a purchase of $3,000, they could say, hey, talk to Scott and use somebody else's credit card as long as it's documented and getting to the right, or go another way of purchasing the item.
So if it's a $10,000 item, let's just say, and everybody's got a $3,000 limit, you're saying 4 people would split that purchase?
If it had to be, but what I'm saying is it's never happened. Very, very seldom it ever, when's the highest when I look at it, there's never purchases that high.
Well, I think, Pam's experiencing it right now.
Correct, that one needs to be raised. Yeah, that's the one that.
I think I'm not trying to
No.
speak for you, but you're wanting everything at 3 is what he just said.
Correct. So everybody has the same credit card limit. So it's easier, there's no need to have the higher limits. When you have the higher limit, then you open your chance of, being that somebody working in banking has dealt with credit card fraud for 15 plus years. I don't know how often it's ever happened or if it ever has, but when you have an open line like that, and then if we don't need it, there's no need to have it. That's my thought process. It keeps it simple. I don't know. Give your thoughts on it, Scott. I know you.
For me personally, 3 would be plenty.
So, I just think we've gotten way high credit card limits here. I've always thought that this isn't the first time this has been brought up. I think it should be as low as humanly possible.
When I first got on, we talked about credit card limits. And I think Bruce was at 25,000 or 20,000 at that point in time. We brought it down to 10.
That was purchasing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The The banker's card has an aggregate limit of 10,000 right now.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the aggregate.
Yeah, not the procurement.
That's what I was talking about.
Credit card limit, which is different than a procurement limit,
Correct,
which you could use cash
correct,
or an emergency purchase up to a procurement limit.
correct. So I just think it's too high of a limit, I don't know. I mean, or if you're not even using the card, I don't know how often Bruce even uses the card. If it's never being used, then the shit shouldn't be there, and everything go through the city administrator or go through the city clerk. You're just, one, you're helping the audit purposes, then you don't have to worry about it for audit side. And then number two, there's just more credit cards sitting out there. I mean, that's my thought process. And this has never changed. This has always been the same opinion I've had. I've talked about it in years past, yeah, I mean, that's my thought.
I think that's a good idea.
Only thing I would add to that is just the idea of some sort of emergency purchase authority. I mean,
That's why I
but
think
we've
it's
got-
worth leaving it, but.
well, but that doesn't necessarily need to be on a credit card.
Correct.
We have cash reserves.
Correct. The mayor still has the 10,000 procurement, which yes, that's absolutely correct. So,
I'll say I used Bruce's credit card a lot for training because I don't have my own, so.
but my
But it
opinion
is
of
not
this,
10,000.
but what I'm saying is for that, this is my opinion, that should go to Scott.
in
Not to,
his card.
correct, because Bruce isn't always around. He's part-time. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
where it should always go to Scott or potential city clerk on whoever that may be.
And then one of the other things though that we're experiencing right now for the library is Tam's trying to order summer stuff for the library. Well, she's reaching the limit on the Amazon account, so now she's trying to use the credit card. Her credit card limit isn't high.
Okay, so what kind of limit is, so if she just went to 3,000, is that
We
what
would be
she,
increasing her from 2 to 3.
and that is sufficient? I know Pam was talking to me about that need to be higher, but that is sufficient to what?
That's what your board.
Board has said, okay, so I gotta assume they did the research. So,
So did you say that this is, to move them all down, decreasing to 3,000 would be typical? What you have?
That's what we
proposed
had
in
in
there?
Clear Lake, other communities. 3 is generally what it's,
And everybody's got the same,
everybody else.
unless Bruce, you've got a significant reason why not.
No significant reason. We have had charges, say for tires for a truck, some vehicles like that bump up over 5. So there are times when it happens, it just needs to.
So then in that situation, then
they can send a bill, when they could send a bill for that. Because it's a
approve
city
it
bill.
at the council. Or
Well, it depends
Or
on
how
where
we
they're at,
handle
if they're out of town.
Emergency, if we have the vendor set up.
But you'd only be buying one tire if it's an emergency.
But
The only other thing that I've seen happen though is, and I've tried to get them all set up on auto pay now, but if the payment hasn't hit, you have the previous month's balance hitting whatever they're trying to purchase today. So sometimes,
Yeah, that's
Those
when it
overlap.
takes the balance. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
And that's what I'm talking about for fraud. That's why that's occurred, but I can explain that another time.
Before I go on vacation, I've got a credit card that I use only online purchases. And when I do that online purchases, when I'm going on vacation, I'm using that same credit card to go to the hotel. So it's got a $1,700 limit. So what I did, I've had this happen where I had like $400 or $500 on it from purchases online. So I went and paid them in advance. You can just get online and pay them in advance before you get the actual statement, which I can print it out on my phone too when I do that. So you could pay them in advance if you got something like that that hits you. That way you've got the full amount.
If it's rare like that, then I'm not so concerned. I think there's other ways, but that's not like a typical thing.
Again,
Somebody like
when
to
I
make
was-
a motion.
as long as we have,
Did you finish your thought, Bruce?
Well, just that just the types of things that are unforeseen.
Mhm.
But I don't really have a problem with it if we can have a workaround.
Yeah, as long as there's a way to get emergency purchases passed without having a meeting, then. And if you think it's a typical,
Yeah, I'm
maximum
good with 3.
3,000.
I mean, it's pretty common. Hopefully
Want to make a motion?
Becomes an issue, we'll
you can always revisit it.
we have the votes we need, so.
So is it to lower all of them just down to 3 or?
I think it's set
or-
across the board, credit card limit of 3,000, is that?
And add Scott
Yep.
and increase.
And increase
Pays.
Pam. So,
So-
and just leave, take Bruce's down from 10 to 3 or remove his completely.
Well, I think the other guys were at 5, right? No,
The other guys are at 5.
so they're going to go to 3 as well.
What is, I mean.
What I'm on board for is it just an across the board 3.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not
that's fine with me.
different to
So it's
person
all the
or
same.
position or anything else, and we have a
That
list of
work? That's
authorized
fine.
credit cards,
That works
and
for
we
me.
have an across the board match.
Yeah, keeps it simple. So,
So that's a motion then?
yeah, that's,
I think so.
Yeah. All right,
That's the word we need.
I'll make a motion.
DJ, yeah.
I'll make a motion to have, everybody, city clerk, city administrator, all the staff, the guys at 3, Bruce at 3, and then, the director, library, 3,000 across the board. So make a motion to,
Okay, we have a motion for $3,000 credit cards. Okay,
Second.
and do we have a second? There we go. Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Sarah Peterson.
Aye.
David Fisher.
Aye.
EJ Bell.
aye.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, fire station building project and the project update.
Thank you, Mayor. Got a copy of change order in your packet. Change order number 6 has been submitted for consideration. That substitutes some duct working. The proposal is to change to spiral ducting in lieu of rectangular ducting. And there's certain areas, I think it deals with the return air, outdoor air, transfer air, some of those spots. But essentially it amounts to a $3,500 deduct to the project for this change. If you remember, we kind of been working with the Garling, the contractor on it, and the subcontractors, trying to identify some areas where we can maybe value engineer some things. And this one came from the HVAC contractor on the project. And so we thought it was a good one. Architect, contractor, Bruce, myself, we're all involved in the conversation. Seemed like a good fit and a deduct for $3,500 on that. So that's really all I've got on that change order. Just in terms of the project update, obviously you can see the skeleton of the buildings in place. Right now, if you've kind of watched them on that west side, they're putting the overhangs on for the building. So that's going pretty well. Take a couple of weeks on that. Structural stud framing should be starting pretty soon. So that'll last a few weeks as well. DeLong, if you remember, is our underground excavator contractor on the job, and they've made all the underground tie-ins and connections there. So kind of wrapping up some loose ends with them. Alliant and Mid-Am, they'll be here next week to work on the gas and electrical connections. And then the next couple of weeks, still more on the building erection. Within the building itself, you may recall there's that area that's kind of the storm shelter area that they're working on. The footings on that. And then probably one of the more exciting things, I think, within the next month, we'll start to see the floor get poured over there. So that's just kind of where we're at now, and look ahead for a couple, 3 weeks. So the change order is a deduct for $3,500.
We're still on for the estimated completion date.
Correct. Yep. Had a few rain days, but that really hasn't set them back.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve change order number 6?
motion to change order number 6 to deduct.
Second, Budersky, and further discussion?
Could just add, now that Trevor asked that schedule, and I said, no rain, start pouring for the next month probably. Throw the schedule up. I shouldn't have answered.
Right.
Um, I don't know how to address this, uh, as far as change orders go. I had put a lot of thought into the last change orders that came through, and I really don't feel like I made a good quality decision after I made the decision to approve. And I'm talking about the $10,000 that we spent for putting in the,
Great.
yes. And, you know, I think I should have probably requested, and again, this isn't, I'm off topic, so please stay with me here, and I want to try to get this incorporated into this, that if we're going to do a change order and it's going to cost us more money, we need to do more due diligence than what we did, because I don't believe we did the proper due diligence with that at all. Because after I thought about it, I thought, number one, we could have done something different. Was there other options? We could have put in a sump pump. Everything in your house goes to a sump pump in your basement, and then it's pumped out from there out to basically the street is what happens to it, or it goes out into the ditch is where it typically goes from the sump pump. And that's all that drainage around your foundation that goes out there. We could have looked at that. Could that have been less than $10,000? That could have been possibly an option. The other thing could have been, hey, there's no basement to worry about there, and it's below the frost line. Is there even an issue here? And, you know, with no basement, do we even need to have that water out of there, that much water out of there? Again, I don't know that we did our due diligence. And what I'm saying is, for the future, I really think we need to do a better job of these change orders, really thinking them through.
Any further discussion? Moving on to the roll call. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
EJ Bell.
Aye.
David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. Hey, item number 8 is an audio-visual system upgrade for City Council meeting community room. And online we have with us Mike Holmberg with Iowa Audio Video. First we'll have Scott. Do you want to?
Yeah, thanks. Yep, thanks, Mayor. And you also, Mary, been involved in this for a long time. So you've been a lot. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I think over the last few months, Mayor and I, we've talked to numerous companies about audio-visual enhancements and upgrades here for the community room. I think the proposal that we were most impressed with is what you have here this evening from Iowa Audio Video. I've talked to some other groups they've worked with in the past. They've worked with the county that where I'm up from, and they had just very good positive things to say about their experience with Iowa Audio Video. So this would be, of course, again, to upgrade our ability to live stream, record, and rebroadcast our council meetings. And it's also a system that if we needed to use it. I think the mayor mentioned a couple of times that we've had some groups in here that put on some classes, maybe wanted to record those and broadcast them later on. It's probably a system that we could utilize along those as well. But I think when we started talking to these guys, the thing for me at least, and Bruce can share his thoughts as well, but that hit it for me was we were looking for a user-friendly system, something that again easy to operate, reliable recording, and really seamless on the streaming. And so something that any of us could operate without a whole lot of instruction on it. So The proposed system utilizes an integrated streaming and recording device with 2 terabytes of data internal storage. And hopefully Mike can explain maybe a little more how much that is, but I'm gathering it's quite a bit. City would then be able to use that data storage for archival purposes, for, keep them for quite a while, however long we wish to. And then I like the opportunity to seamlessly broadcast this live to multiple platforms. So for example, we could broadcast YouTube, broadcast it to Facebook, more than one opportunity to do that. So the components of the system, in particular like the camera, different from what we've had, obviously a substantial upgrade from what we've had previously, called a PTZ, pan tilt zoom, high definition camera, a 20 times optical zoom. So we'd be able to adjust the camera remotely, angles and zoom levels to get the best coverage of the room possible. Wall-mounted streaming controller, and what I like is a simple push button way of operating and starting the recording, initiating the live stream. And I'll let Mike talk about it, but a ceiling mounted microphone. So it's out of the way and, great coverage with that as well. And again, I think those were kind of the big things that we were looking for when we were talking to all the firms that we've talked to. And so I think there's a really good proposal. It's about 11,400, if I recall correctly on that, but just a really, I thought, good, efficient, $11,404.28. But I think it's something, again, takes our level of professionalism up quite a bit from what we've had, again, something that I think we'll use for a long, long time here. So, Mayor, did you want to add anything on that?
No, the simplicity is key on all that, as well as the quality of the audio and video too. But that's been a challenge in the past, is the audio specifically. And we visited with Mike, and I thought, Mike, if you're online there, if you'd like to just tell us a little bit about your company, Iowa
Yeah.
Audio Video.
Yeah, we're based out of Clive. I've been with the company for about 25 years. We do everything to a lot of the casinos in the state, down to schools, houses of worship, city halls, state capitol, kind of a gamut of businesses across the state. The live streaming really took off during the COVID time, especially with houses of worship, so they could still have their services. And again, with schools, with the implementation of the remote learning, and that's kind of where we kind of took off on the live streaming aspect of the company, and kind of that's one of our things that we have a good foothold in the state here. You were talking about the recording. The does have a 2 terabyte storage. Every hour of meeting will use about, if it's high quality recording, it'll be about 3 gigabytes. So that 2 terabyte could hold about 666 hours of meetings before it starts to rewrite itself. Typically, what you would have is, once a month, once a year, whatever, you pull that data off and store it, or you could have it do it automatically where that data is stored on an internal server at your location. So you're not ever having any data rewritten, and that you always have access to it in the future if needed. I think the other thing Scott had mentioned was the ceiling mic. It's a digital ceiling mic that actually has digital, the terminology is steerable. They're lobes that will pick up different areas of the room, and they'll help eliminate some of the paper clutter and moving around stuff. But they're made to adjust to how the voices move around the room. So you could walk around and you should still have about the same coverage you would have whether you're seating or if you rearrange the room to a different layout. The camera, that would be, right now we have it as a wall mount. The other option would be as a pole mount where it would hang down from the ceiling. Typically, we would set it up kind of temporarily and let you guys see the image. It does have control with its control system, so you could move it and recall different presets if you desired. Typically, if you have kind of the basic image for this type of meeting, and then you do another type of meeting, you can usually recall preset A or preset B to have it move to where you would want it to cover. Other than that, I think Scott, you covered it quite well. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I had a question, about the storage. I can't imagine storage ever being an issue because if we're loading it onto YouTube, YouTube keeps it forever. So, I mean, unless we delete it for our own purposes of something that would need to happen. So, and the other question I just have is, if we approve this tonight, when can you put this in?
We would, the way we work is once it's approved, I get a signed contract back. We send out a down payment invoice. We do 65% down payment. We do have some cities that will just pay the full amount in full instead of doing the down payment and the remaining 35. Once that comes in, equipment's ordered, then it would be a matter of looking at the schedule. We're about a month and a half out right now, but that could vary as the summer has been filling up. So it's hard saying on until we kind of have a firm date on when stuff is coming before we schedule everything.
So if we were to approve it tonight, Scott, what's the timing on getting all that done,
Well, hopefully, I mean,
Back to him, I mean.
Oh, I think if you approve it tonight, we could get a check cut and out pretty quickly.
Within
a couple of days.
So we're basically looking at
Middle of July.
the middle of July.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at July right now. Yeah, I mean, and again, this would be a 1-day install. And so if the room it can be flexible, it might be an item where we could reach out to you, the day before or that week and say, hey, we can squeeze you in on Tuesday. Is that going to work for the room's availability type of thing?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that answered my question. But
Will we still do dial-ins? How will we handle folks that dial in?
Mike, we talked a little bit about that, of linking it into our conference phone. But as far as the audio, I believe that was possible with the system configured, right?
This design, I think we were just focusing on this design with just the camera and the recording and the streaming. And so it did not take into account people calling at this time. So it would, people would either join via Facebook or YouTube or whatever other platform.
But for folks to speak virtually, they'll have to speak over that current process, and then the mic's going to have to pick up the output off that speaker for the audience to hear what virtual callers are saying.
That's what I understand it, right, Mike?
Correct. Yeah, there's no way to with this designed layout, there's no way for the outside caller to have both. We can definitely design it that way, but I think that would delay us. But I mean, if that's the right way to do it, we could definitely do it. I can redesign it if we want to do it that way.
Did I miss? Sorry if I missed this. Is there a computer involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Well, probably not the one that we were using before.
I guess, Mike, maybe talk a little bit about the operating system platform. It's a computer, but not.
That streaming processor?
Correct. The streaming processor. So if you guys would use a laptop or an in-room computer just to log into that processor, and that's where you would you could move the cameras, mute the cameras, change the presets and how you want it to look. You can actually also bring in a PC video feed as well. So if somebody wanted to share the minutes, we could actually stagger and have like a picture in picture. So those would be part of the live stream as well.
So if we wanted to integrate video into that, we could have a TV connected to that computer, but the computer could be used to share content. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, typically would be if somebody brings in a laptop, they could connect an HDMI cable. That cable would connect to one of the input ports on the processor, and then it would see both the camera as one input and the computer as one input, and then whoever's controlling and moving the layout around would select, how they want it to look going out to the Facebook or YouTube.
Does the processor have a video output for a TV connected in the room?
It does.
It does. Okay.
Yep.
So this, like if somebody was showing a PowerPoint presentation, is that what we're
We
talking
could
about?
HDMI from that processor to a TV or something else. Yeah.
And they'll show the video of the council,
Right.
kind of like in a split screen scenario. Is that what you're?
You could probably set it up that way.
Sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like at least the connections are there.
Especially during like
Budget.
budget time.
Budget PowerPoint,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Mike, does that discussion we had with using HDMI input and sharing it within the room itself and on the feed, you understand that's the capability there?
That is a capability, yes. We would either need to add an extender to connect from that laptop to the recording device. Otherwise, we just have to have a long enough cable that would go from that laptop to the recording device. But yes, then there is what they call a live feed out. So what would be going out to the internet, there's also an HDMI feed of that as well. So if you did show a PowerPoint on a computer and you wanted that to go out to the internet, you could also have that viewable on the screen in the community room there.
The other option is if we had a TV, why not just aim the camera at the TV and show it?
Well, sometime for clarity and that kind of thing. I mean, if you're reading things, but
I would think with this camera, Michael, I'd say if we have a TV set up, so like in Clear Lake when we were doing our PowerPoint, we would just aim right on our screen, and it was good enough clarity that you could see it.
The camera can definitely handle it, but I think the second what the mayor said, I think it would make more sense to have that looped into the processor. I think it would be a clearer, squared image as opposed to a secondary camera on the screen itself. So
It's scalable.
option.
It's scalable. We're not there today, but with the addition of some more equipment, we can enhance the capability.
The mention of the laptop having to be used is, I think the one that we're using is a Chromebook. Can it be as simple as a Chromebook, or does it have to be an actual Microsoft product? Because Chromebooks are limited.
no, it can go to a Chromebook. It's just you're going to its website. So, and there's different ways to log into that. So there is an admin level. There's also like a director level. So director only has so many access to so many controls opposed to the whole system. So that we can limit how much access different people will have if needed. But it can just be you just connect to its IP address as long as it's on the same network in the facility there.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Does the streaming processor, is it like a Windows type OS, or how is it accessing these streaming sites? What's the software on there?
It's its own. It's a Linux-based server. And so you would put in your credentials for either Facebook or YouTube or WebEx, and it will give you a streaming key, or you'll say, let's just talk about Facebook. It'll give you a locking key. So you'll put in the information into the device. As long as it's set we'll walk you through on how to set everything up where you want it to be a persistent key and not a revolving key. Once you hit record on the device, it will start recording. All you need to do is go into that Facebook or a YouTube app and confirm that you want to start it, and then it would be going live.
And what's the interface with the app to start it? That's through the computer?
That's when you log into it. Otherwise, there will be, there's a one gang wall plate that, I mean, just looking at you guys now would probably go next to that door behind you guys. And that wall plate would allow you to start, stop, record streams itself as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, realistically,
Oh, yeah.
you could press a button on the wall plate to start the meeting and then just log into the Facebook account, hit start or confirm, and it would be going.
Yeah, if you have an extra computer, I don't know, or that thing, I don't think we can count on it. So,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. I think it's a piece of crap.
So looking at it earlier,
It's a piece of crap.
asked the mayor, what is it?
It's a piece of crap, just throw it away.
it's our first attempt at getting right.
Yeah.
We're going to scale up a little bit here. So I think
I-
that's the right direction.
I just don't want to have any, because that's what he's talking about. We're trying to talk about that logging in stuff. We don't know what was the problem, but it just, yeah.
I mean, the other thing I did mention on the scope of work, you could hook up a monitor and a keyboard and mouse to the device and not have to use a computer at all to connect to it. It could just be a standalone keyboard, mouse, and you could control it that way.
Yeah, because you could use it wireless.
Exit.
Just a little iPad or something over there that you.
All right.
Well, thank you, Mike.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you for your attention to our project. We appreciate that too.
You bet.
With that, do we have a motion to approve the $11,482.59?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
On a visual.
Motion and the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the roll call vote is Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Jay Bell.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
And David Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries. And thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And items number 9 and 10 are tabled. Item number 11, City Administrator's Report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll just run through these real quick in the interest of time. The meet and greet for me is here tomorrow night from 5 to 6 p.m. So hopefully have a good crowd for that. Did want to give an update on the FEMA derecho debris removal project funding request. We did get the check. It's sort of the semi-final check, if you will. We can't file for the final disbursement until the fire station project is completed. They were coupled together. So once the fire station project is completed, then we'll be able to file for the last remaining amount of that amount for the debris removal. So again, $226,899. So nice to get that in. They did also file for payment request number 2 for the fire station building project. That'll be again a semifinal, so we won't be able to request any more on that one until that project is complete as well. So that was in the amount of $316,486.43. So we've kind of judged by the past application for payment we had with the debris removal project. Might be looking at about a month on that one. So you're within span of probably about 2.5 to 3 months, we'll be bringing in around $550,000 worth of FEMA money in for these projects. So it's nice to get that in. So I want to just bring attention to we're going to be transferring from our bond proceeds. If you recall, we had the 2025 bond issue in that we had already designated this, but I just wanted to remind you of it because you'll see it on the financials here soon. That we're going to move $375,000 from that over to the water fund. The water fund for previously approved capital expenditures, and that will bring the water fund out of the red, which was another finding in the audit. So we'll be able to get that one removed going forward as well. Did want to give a quick update. Been going through the draft copy of the personnel we got. I think outside legal counsel had prepared that for us. That's going to be a substantial review of that. I need to involve our staff in that as well. And so that's going to be, but I'm going to try to keep giving you some updates on that. But I would just say it's the review is going to be pretty significant on that one. It's I think there's good boilerplate legal work that's been done just on your standard policies like FLSA or FMLA and some of those, but there are things that need to be really, I think, particularized to the city and how we operate here that aren't addressed adequately in that. So, and I think the only way we do that is by effectively collaborating, engaging with the employees that we've got, and kind of how things are going is also with the council as well. So definitely a high priority project, but it's substantial. And then in your packet, you've got a draft position announcement for the city clerk position. You know, Amy's been the interim city clerk for going on 6 months now. And so this would be to begin the process of filling that position permanently. You know, we would do a advertisement for it and see how it goes. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on that, but with your blessing, we go ahead and start advertising that.
I have some stuff to say.
Oh, yeah.
About that. Again, I can't stress enough for the money, for all the hounding I've been doing over the last multiple years of that, to finally get that money. I know there was some miscommunication and stuff like that we had to get figured out, but it sounds like we got the money. So we, you know, thank you for doing that. I wish we would have got it sooner, but hey, we got the money in the bank now.
We do.
Our interest on it. So, you know, maybe we can do something with those dollars on a project or pay something off or, you know, keep it there. I mean, that can be a discussion that we can talk about. And then obviously getting the other money, that's a big deal here soon. And then obviously for the personnel policy, yeah, I know you're really busy. I agree with Trevor. If we can, whatever we can do to get that sooner than later, obviously, you already know that. We've talked about that with everything going on. So it's nice to see that, because I had some questions on that I can talk to you about on that. But, and then for the city clerk position, I'm for it. So, you know, to get the ball rolling. I don't know about anybody else, but, you know, I'm good to go.
If there's anything more we need to do, I guess, I think everybody said in here at one point in time said we were going to go with that, but I don't know if there's ever been a formal document, but I think we're ready to move forward.
Where will you be posting and advertising for the city clerk position?
I am, when it comes to those things, I'm very aggressive. Oh, there won't be any stones unturned. Yeah. Hopefully you don't get too many calls saying from other cities saying, hey, there's some guy here trying to steal our city clerk or whatever. But no, I intend to be pretty aggressive in promoting that.
And then once, will we have another discussion about the hiring process?
Oh, yes. Yep. So thank you for bringing that up. I would definitely want council involvement, obviously, in that as well. Yep. So we'd have like a hiring committee. So a couple.
Okay, thank you. And then moving on to the mayor's report, attended a board of supervisors meeting. They'll begin seal coat on the Lynn Benton Road. It's a project that Benton County is in partnership with Lynn County. That's just east of Atkins. And then the 33rd Avenue work by the state of Iowa will begin shortly as well. And because of that, there'll probably be extra traffic going down the Lynn Benton Road. So it's good that the county agreed to help with that. The EMA meeting, the topic of the Dwayne Arnold Energy Center has come up again. And looks like they're pushing forward very aggressively and getting that plant to a state of approval for regulatory reasons and whatnot. With a startup date of late 2028 is their goal right now. So, but that, if you read about the newspaper, brings in about between 800 and 1,500 jobs to that area, and that'll be an economic boost to the area, as well as bringing some needed power to the region as well. So um, it does look like that's moving along, and any um, any involvement as far as regulatory agencies will include Atkins because of our proximity to that area. So, but it's moving forward. That's all I had.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
about that? Okay. I attended the planning and zoning meeting in Cedar Rapids for the nuclear power plant. And I had a question that they didn't have an answer to yet, but I just wanted to put it on everybody's radar about these the sirens
Oh,
that
mhm.
we own now, but
Mhm.
that they used to own. So I don't know if getting the nuclear plant going again, if that changes who owns those or who use they pay for annual maintenance on them. So I asked the question, but they didn't have a good, or they didn't know yet.
That's a good question.
So
Yep.
That's a
Yeah,
good
could
one.
we-
I remember that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Those sirens were gifted to the communities, well, to the county, and then the county gifted them to the communities that wanted them. But no, that's not at the level that they're at right now. They're mostly concerned with the plan itself. But there are a lot of pieces to that puzzle getting the whole place to work. So, yeah. But, and moving on to item number 13, the consent agenda.
You have council reports, or is that further down?
Other business, we can. Yeah. With the consent agenda, that'd be the approval of the bills and claims, April financial reports, minutes of May 13th, council meeting, Class B retail alcohol license for the Dollar General, and resolution 2025-0510, that's approving Watermelon Day special events application for fireworks and activities over there.
He wants to say something, he missed out, he didn't know we're starting at 6 instead of 6:30. Yeah, I got that.
Oh.
On my calendar, 6:30. Anyway, I've been here before about 6 weeks ago about the ditch. I'm wondering if council would be willing to let me take care of getting that fixed. It would be reimbursed by the city, since it is your property, I'm in charge of taking care of it. Something needs to be done.
I think you should probably talk to Scott.
Yeah. Just stop in tomorrow. Maybe I can join you out at your property and take a look at it.
Okay, where do I find you?
I'm here. I'm here pretty much all the time.
Scott's our full-time administrator, and so he's fully empowered to help you with this.
I'm just curious, is that a possibility? I mean, all, took a tile, we're talking about 100 foot from the neighbor's house to mine, to the end of the street. And then to fill that over with dirt so I can mow it. Oh, right now I have to do it by hand with a weed whacker. Just did it 2 days ago, it took me an hour and a half. That wasn't a problem even 10 years ago, 5 years ago. My health issues have changed since then, so it's becoming a battle.
All right. Well, we'll take a look at it tomorrow. I'll just get with you tomorrow.
Fine.
You bet.
And your address again was 2nd Avenue?
Yes, 202 Second. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
Second by Fisher. Further discussion? Hearing none, the roll call vote. Trevor Dursky.
Aye.
Samantha Peterson.
Aye.
David Fisher.
Aye.
And EJ Bell.
Aye.
Carries. Right. Moving on to other business.
Yes, Scott, thanks for the update on the employee handbook and the work in the interim since the last time we talked. Got some thoughts. We'll just continue to work, I'm sure individually to get kind of our input on it and keep going there. But look forward to updates. I think there's another similar type item that we've discussed, and I think a few times it's come up as something, if we had it, maybe it would have helped us through situations. And that's whatever you want to call it, but a council procedure manual, council code of conduct, something. I'm going to work on this too. So this isn't, I think the employee handbook is still priority to this, but if you've got that underway, then maybe that's something that one of us or a couple of us can take a look at. But the idea really is that we should be self-regulating as a city council to some extent, where what I mean by that is we should be able to agree how we're going to conduct business, the rules of the road, and then hold each other accountable when we fall short of that. And I don't think we need to continue to dig into this, but I think last meeting we fell short of that in several cases. And I would look forward to the discussion with everybody to say, like, these are some things that we're going to hold ourselves to and how we talk to each other in here, how we conduct ourselves. And if we fall short of that, we're going to, as a council, call that out. I want that to be a discussion, what that looks like, but I hope we can all agree that that's something we should be working towards. That's something we can hold each other accountable on and put the town in the best light, put our best foot forward. As with Scott in this seat, we start talking to and entertaining some really interesting opportunities to help us solve the issues that we need to solve. 5 million plus in terms of water mains that need to be replaced. We've got a water capacity thing. Economic development is how we'll get out of that without putting onerous burden on residential taxpayers. All that becomes troublesome if it looks like the town can't get out of its own way. And so I just preface that to say I want to work on that. I think we all have something to say there. I think we can all contribute to it, but I just appreciate everybody's support on that, and we can get it where it needs to go.
So I have to agree wholeheartedly with Trevor there. Matter of fact, along those same lines, it was reported back to me that we had a council member that was down at the depot that was attacking Scott and also spreading lies about Scott. And I'm sorry, but it's not deserved, it's not warranted, and that's a council member that's doing that. Not only does it get out to the person that he was speaking with, it was across everybody in the whole store that heard it. And that person that heard it in the store reported it to somebody else, and it got back to me. That's totally unacceptable. And in my opinion, last week, we were sitting here and we were trying to address an issue with Bruce due to the fact that, we wanted Bruce to man up and say, listen, it's my fault that I had that in my office for multiple times, for multiple years, about the property that we had that we didn't record. And we were trying to get that. The same council member again starts attacking EJ. And not only attacking EJ, but also attacking EJ's wife. That puts us into a predicament that we're going to get sued as a city. Eventually. And you know what? It's a defamation of character for Scott to tell those lies. So for what Trevor's saying, I completely agree. And wholeheartedly think it should be addressed. In all actuality, and I think everybody's figured out who I'm talking about, but Jim doing what he does, and then Bruce, you don't stop him. You know, this is your friend. He's your friend. You don't stop him. You're first to address me, first to address EJ, but you never stop and address him and say, this is enough. I am not going to put myself into a position where I'm getting put into a jury or in front of a jury saying, Dave, did you allow this as a city? I'm not doing it. So what I'm asking for right this minute is for the resignation of Jim and Bruce.
Okay, any other discussion?
I think that Trevor's idea is a good one, and I don't know what that looks like. Is it a workshop or a special
little
work
more
session
thought.
maybe? Yeah, but I think that's the right direction to head into. Hopefully get on more of a positive, just environment in here and work together to move forward as a city. So thank you for bringing that up.
We've had that distributed in October, November of last year. A draft of that to council. So could certainly get that to you if you don't have that. I think that might be what Trevor's talking about. So
It's similar ale to it is, I think, the Heinz handbook, but we need to look at it. And I think it came from the attorneys. Is that not?
I believe so. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's out there. It's a product start point. But again, just reaching across the other members of the body, like, I think it would be a good idea. And it sounds like we've got agreement there. That's something we should pursue. So.
Well, I'm not going to tolerate, and I'm going to say this wholeheartedly right now again, I'm not going to tolerate somebody on this council running him out of here. He's the best thing that's happened to this town in a long time. And, we've had city council members run off of this city council. They've been attacked, stuff said to them. It can't continue. It just cannot continue. I see it. I know what's happened here in the past, and I'll be damned if I'm going to allow it to happen, Scott.
So just say a couple of things. As someone who's taken probably the most blunt attacks in this town over the last multiple years and still working through, I agree with Dave, but everybody knows that. But I'm not so much concerned. My biggest concern was what Jim did to you personally. To do that out there and have, to get multiple complaints. Scott, honestly, as me, I don't know what the rest would think. I think I would recommend you to mention that to people above, to have that looked at and investigated and looked into, because that's unacceptable. Because that does open the city for lawsuit. And Doug has hounded, and Holly has hounded this city for the last 5 years to no extent. And everybody on this council knows this. Everybody from previous councils know this. And I know personally that person has been told you cannot do that. So that is my recommendation. And it's just unacceptable. And it's not fair. and it's the bully pulpit, but the bully pulpit's not gonna, it's done. We're not, and I agree with you, Trevor. I'm just tired of it. So,
Well, if we have a code and we all agree to it, then we have something that we can use to reference and say, hey, we don't do this, or we're holding ourselves to a higher standard. And certainly, personal insults, profanity, threats, those sorts of things are all kind of should be outside of the box of what we consider productive behavior.
I want to address what you said there. The reason the police officers are here is probably because of what they deem as a threat from me. I can guarantee you, Trevor, I don't make threats. I'm a man. I'm a man. I don't make threats. And you know what a man does? A man can sit there and say, I understand you're concerned. I shouldn't have said that. That's what a man does. Or a man just shuts his mouth and walks away. To call Benton County Police Department and put in a complaint against me because I threatened him? No, it wasn't a threat. It was just telling him what I was going to do the next time.
Well, decorum is something we should all take to heart. And with that,
We've got a lot. We've got to everybody's point. We do have a direction. It's positive. Things are turning around. I think a lot of people see it. And we just, for what we can do, let's keep going down that.
with that, we've completed our business for this evening. Does anyone entertain a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Motion by Bill, second. Second by Jersky. All in favor by voice,
Aye.
opposed, same. We are adjourned.
If I'm here, I must see you, everybody.
Thanks for coming out.
I'm EJ.
Did you say Larry?
Yeah, yeah.
And are you the mayor?
I am.
Thank you.
And Sammy Peterson.
And what role are you? What do you do?
She's counsel and I'm administrator.
All right, well, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
long
thanks.
has Atkins had a city administrator?
How long have they had or been without?
How long have they been without?
Well, we had an interim.
Wow.
So prior to that, they had some